Cool. So with Mr. Adrian Thorpe.
Yeah.
ThorpyFX.
Hello.
So
Thanks for coming in.
Thank you for having me. It's really nice.
It's nice to finally have you down in the Unit 12 massive that is Unit 12.
It's cool.
And
Yeah, it's good.
massive.
Yeah.
It's I've not actually physically met you before, so it's nice.
No,
to-
we've spoken on or messaged.
The interwebs.
The interweb's great for that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I did a podcast a couple of weeks ago with guys in America.
Oh, cool.
From the Tone Mob.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
That's like, it's really cool because I set up a microphone and all the rest of it at my end, and then they recorded me over the interwebs.
Yeah.
And it.
Okay.
So
That's good. It's nice. What did you use to do that? Was it just FaceTime or something?
No. It was a proper bit of software. I'll have to.
I can't. There is a thing. That
I
you
have a link
subscribe
for
to.
it.
Yeah.
I'll have to share it with you.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
It's really good.
Because we did our first one with Jay, the bass tech from Kings of Leon,
Oh, okay.
and that's where we set it up that way. Was that FaceTime?
That was FaceTime. Yeah.
It's all kind of like a bit jaggedy.
It's not too bad though, is it? That sort of thing. I used an Aston Mike's, the new one, the Stealth, and before I did it, sorry, I'm well off target.
That's
really.
fine.
I called my wife over the joys of Mac and all that sort of stuff, and she said, "Where are you?" I was like, "What do you mean?" She goes, "You sound like you're right next to me. This is weird." Because, you're going for a proper audio interface, a proper microphone, a really good microphone. It really freaked her out.
That's crazy.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Well, send me a link.
Yeah, we'll do. We'll
investigate
sort it out.
Yeah.
So back to Thorpy.
Sorry, mate.
That's all right. That's all right. So, just a brief kind of introduction to what you done and where you came from, etc., etc. Because you're in the army. It was the
Yeah. So I decided to join the army when I was 15. Actually, I wanted to be a pilot in the RAF, a fast jet pilot, but because my eyesight is like less than perfect,
Right.
much less than perfect, I couldn't do that because their scheme is that if you're not 100% perfect, they don't want you.
Yeah, I suppose it's fair enough if you've got.
Fair enough. You've got to fly at Mach whatever. You kind of need good eyes.
Thing.
Do you wear contacts then?
I do, yeah.
Okay.
And I have done for a long while. Actually, I didn't wear contacts for the longest time, but then I was on my bomb disposal course and I bumped my head into a tripwire.
Oh.
In training, so no biggie.
Yeah.
But I was like, yeah, and it's so obviously this thing's right in front of my eyes, and I couldn't see the damn thing, and I was like, that's not
Because
good.
it was above where your glasses were covering.
No, well, two things. First, I've been lying there for 4 hours in the cold, so everything's steaming up. My hands are like screwed because it's freezing. It was in winter. My glasses I was wearing my glasses, but they'd steamed up, so I had to take my glasses off because I couldn't,
Yeah.
And then because I'd taken my glasses off, I couldn't see a tripwire. It was there. I didn't know it was there. So I was told, right, you need to get some contacts. You're on assessment on Monday. I suggest you get down to the optician. So they did me a fast track Saturday appointment.
Oh my god.
Anyway, I've worn contacts ever since because I kind of realised that being able to see what you're doing is really useful, especially in that game.
Literally life and death.
yeah.
It's funny, but I know. Long story short, I'll pass. But anyway, rolling back, so I decided to join the military, and I couldn't be a fast jet pilot, but there was a scheme at the time, and they've just canned it this year to save money. It was effectively the Defence Sixth Form, which it was designed to bring young people into the army as potential officers to join the technical corps and do technical jobs, so engineering and mechanical engineering and all that sort of stuff. So I signed up to that scheme, got us accepted because I had to go and do an assessment for 2 days, and then went to Welbeck College, which was just the most amazing life. It was like joining Hogwarts because it was in a stately home in Welbeck Abbey up in Worksop, and this building, you'll have to Google it because it's astonishingly beautiful. So I lived there as a scroty 16-year-old, not really appreciating the impact and the beauty of where I am. just getting thrashed, doing my A-levels and doing assault courses and shooting and adventurous training. And at that point, so that scheme was designed to, essentially, it doesn't matter what financial background you're from, you got the opportunity to succeed.
Okay.
So it's a real sort of life change for me, because my mum and dad didn't have a lot of money when I was growing up. We lived on a council estate, and they did the best they absolutely could for me. Mm-hmm. But my grades were good, and I got the opportunity and selected to do this. And
restart, I think.
Oh, okay.
And so the army then sponsored me to go to university. I did my degree in applied science, and then went to Sandhurst, which is most people know what Sandhurst is, if you know a bit about the military. And so I spent a year there training to be an army officer, and it's at that point I made a decision that I was essentially gonna join the Royal Logistic Corps, so that I could go and do EOD and become an ammunition technical officer, which is the proper name for that role.
Okay.
And that, you know, that role does everything from, you learn about every bit of ammunition storage, disposal, biochemical munitions disposal, standard munitions disposal, and then improvised explosive device disposal. So it's a real wide-ranging skill set. And so that took 18 months of training to achieve, and it was hard, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
You know, I was glad to be out of it.
And so, how, over the course of the sixth form part of it, and that, how much electronics did you get taught?
See, on my first degree, my applied science degree, there was an electronics module on that. So,
and what kind of was that fairly in depth, or was this is a resistor? And
it's fairly basic, I would suggest.
Yeah.
You know, certainly mostly analog focused, more to do with the physics of it than the actual. From an audio perspective.
Oh yeah.
So it's you know, this does this. This is why it does this. These are the chemicals that go into that sort of stuff.
Kind of O-level physics type.
Yeah, I'd suggest that's probably it. I mean, to be honest with you, in my degree, all my choices towards the end were all in sort of explosive chemistry and material science. So
it's more fun. I mean, electrons. Blowing up stuff. Come on.
Well, you see, this is the thing. You think, oh yeah, you're absolutely right. Blowing up stuff is really cool, and I will never say anything other than that. It is awesome. I had an amazing time doing it for my career. But you know what? You have to trigger them.
Yeah.
That's done with electronics on the whole.
Yeah.
And the terrorists, they devise all these clever and sneaky ways. They're not actually that clever, but they devise all these ways to trigger the devices and booby trap the devices and all the rest of it, and it's all using electronics.
Does that make it that when you were going into it, did you were you naturally drawn to electronics, or were you riding that same wave of blowing up stuff, hurrah, or did it become more, because like in my own knowledge of electronics, at A level I just tried to avoid it as far as I possibly could, because I found it really boring. And then suddenly, as soon as it was applied, it started to stick in my head, and I was gobbling it up as quickly as I could.
Yeah, I get you. So, I mean, actually, my passion for electronics kind of came after my degree. So my degree was all applied based. So it was that you do, like on Friday afternoon, I'm doing quantum physics and doing Schrodinger's cat, and the single wave equation and all that sort of stuff, and my eyes were bleeding, and the maths was super freaking heavy, and then the next day I'm playing with radioactive sources and stuff like that as part of the degree. But the electronic side of it was more of a means to an end. It was just a module I had to do. So when I finished my degree and gone through Sandhurst, actually my first job in the army wasn't anything to do with bomb disposal. I actually was in charge of essentially a big ambulance platoon. Okay. And then I got into I got moved from that job into a radio troop. Right. Okay. Now the workload essentially, it wasn't that heavy. I didn't feel, and I had enough free time in the evening to just try and do something. And one of the options was drink, go down the gym, or get a hobby. And I was learning guitar, and so I thought, well, you know, as we all are learning guitar all the time, you can't sit there from like, you know, 8 o'clock in the evening until midnight, because I generally go to bed about midnight, 1 o'clock. I'm like, yeah, I've been to the gym already, and I don't drink that much because I'm crap with it. What the hell are you going to do? So I got into the electronic side of it because of the love for the sounds, more than anything else. So, you know, specifically Eric Clapton, Brian May, and the treble boost. So it was that sound that got me into the joy of application. So I built my first treble booster. Just thought I could do this, because I was looking at buying a Rangemaster. I was like, oh yeah, they're quite expensive. You know,
what's actually in them?
About 5 parts, but you know, C44. Yeah, I could buy one of those. And so I thought, well, you know, I sod this. I'll just build one, and I built the first one, and it didn't work. And
that's good though. Like I was talking to someone the other day about learning electronics, and I said, oh well, you know, the great thing is when it doesn't work, because then you've got to chase it down, and that really lodges in your head how everything's working. When you finally find what you've done wrong, then you can tie up the fault to that part of the circuit. So it's great that I mean, I made loads of things and none of them worked, and I had to chase it down. So that's great. I
think the key bit, it's a life lesson, is that, you know, lots of people would have given up at that point, and they just go, oh, sod it, whoop, junked in the cupboard, and it's a life lesson gone, because you've just gone, well, so I can't do that. All I thought was, well, I've made a mistake somehow. Everyone else has made them. Well, I can still do this. I've just got to find out what the mistake is. And you know, I'd obviously wired up the grounding wrong. It was, you know, supposed to be positive ground, and I buggered it up, you know. But you know, from that led me back into my books at uni, going, oh, okay, why is that PNP? Why is that MPN? Okay, now I understand again, and it went on from there. And after that, I still had loads of pitfalls, woes, and all the rest of it, as everyone does. But I got obsessed with it, like properly obsessed, because that's the way I am.
It suckers you in, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it could have been anything. It could have been, and I've got obsessed with cameras before, and you know, it could have been any man hobby. I think it's just that. I don't know. What was it? It's something about, and I'm sure ladies, girls, or whatever have the same, maybe the same drive in a different way. But there's something about it appears. You could probably quote me on this, but there's that whole hunter-gatherer thing that blokes, you're chasing something. And in this day and age, well, I'm not hunting bison down, am I, just to get my dinner? So what is it? How do you satisfy that sort of prehistoric sort of drive? And I think you know, with blokes, it's hobbies, isn't it? It's like fishing, and a lot of the time, you know, you don't really give a shit about the fish.
It's making
the rod. I could get a better rod, and that made me a better fisherman. And I've done it with guitars. I've got no excuses now, because I bought the best guitars I could possibly want, and I'm still crap.
I've got all this gear. Why isn't my music any good?
But
all of those hours on the internet researching these instruments. How am I not an amazing guitarist?
They told me. The internet said I'd be amazing at this. Oh no, I have to learn theory. Oh yeah.
I think that kind of the hunter-gatherer thing, mechanics, how things work, is built in to boys to a degree, though, because I've got a 3-year-old at the moment, and he's absolutely obsessed with Duplo and building robots, and he'll just forever take it to bits and build another one, take it to bits and build another one, and I don't know why, but he's fixated on symmetry, so that he won't build one side different than the other, and he'll like tear the house to bits to find that other. It doesn't have to be the same colour, but it does have to be the same part.
Oh, okay.
So you know, he'll build it, all of these different robots in half an hour.
I would suggest he's probably not going to be an artist. He's probably going to be an engineer.
I think that is probably his path.
You know, because Fraser, my son's, he did the same thing. He built this amazing geometric shape. I'm like, oh my god, it's actually fantastic. You know, when he was a real nipper. But he's the same now. He gets obsessed and focused and all the rest of it. He's super lazy sometimes, but you know, I'm a bit hard on him really because he's nearly 11, and guess what? He should be a little bit lazy sometimes.
Yes.
But my daughter's a toddler, so it's hard to sort of measure what and how she's gonna go. But seeing as her mum's a scientist and I'm a scientist, I'm an engineer as well. I imagine she might go that route. But
might surprise you though. Might surprise you.
Could be, as long as she's happy. I don't really care. You know, I just...
You've got to be doing something that you feel invested in. I think that's the thing. Not to chase a kind of secondary goal. What you're actually doing has got to be something that you're passionate about and that you're invested in.
Otherwise, you just fall over.
Yeah.
You will die of misery, stress, and all the rest of it.
You just end up trying to distract yourself with other things, and that is normally not good.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I get lots of, you know, well, not say lots of, but some of the customers I see coming through here, you know, very, very successful, you know, people, but just done, you know, became, I don't know, a lawyer, for example, because their dad was a lawyer and went into the firm. They didn't want to be a lawyer. You know, they've got all the money in the world and everything, but all they want to do is like tinker in a garage somewhere making something, you know.
I mean, I always have that saying, you know, you're not dead yet, because the amount of people who say to me, "Oh, I wish I could do this." Did you die?
Yeah.
What? Have you just died? No. How old are you? 40. Right. Well, you know, the way things are, you've got about another 40 useful years in you. So let's assume that you know, 16 of those 40 that you've used at being at school. Okay. Well, that's 24 years that you are where you are. Guess what? In 24 years from now, you could be super excited about what you're doing and happy.
Yeah.
So guess what? Crack on. But there's a fear, and I think people have fear of failing, but loads of people fail all the time.
Yeah, but that goes back to your point earlier. I mean, I think you learn best by failing. You got to fail. What's your saying? Fail quickly and fail.
Completely.
But basically learn from it. You've got to, because otherwise you don't, and you will never do anything. I don't think.
That's really hard, learning from the failure, because you're already down.
Oh, it's kicking
and you're
balls,
like, I hate it. I don't even want to see that. But that's the point where you need to get back to it and analyze it, and like you did with the treble booster, you need to get in there and say, okay, well, I did fail there, but why did I fail, and how can I not do that if I want to do this again? Mm-hmm. And it's hard. And what you said at the beginning, I just grafted away at whatever it was that you were talking about, and that's how you get to achieve any degree of success. You just got to plug away and plug away and plug away, and there's got to be something driving you kind of climbing up that mountain.
I mean, there's an element of, you know, some people are pre-wired to just be that obsessed about stuff. They just are. And you know, if you want to look at I mean, astronauts are really good people to study. If you ever want to look at people who have reached the pinnacle of whatever they were doing, because it's so hard to be an astronaut. But let's not even go to the astronaut bit. It's so hard to become a fast jet pilot. Like, the washout rate's huge. And then to be a fast jet pilot, well, that's great. You've then got loads of those that exist. They've then got to be good enough as a pilot to be a test pilot. You know, this is the traditional route, which means you've got to be master and commander of your aircraft and any aircraft that basically exists, and you need to understand what the hell's going on, why it's happening, and you know, under pressure, because you're flying things that really ought not to be flying. And so that you take that level of success, and then you're another percentage drop of success to become an astronaut. And then when you're an astronaut, you could be an astronaut that never flies, never gets to go in space, because guess what? You were just never selected because you're not good enough as an astronaut, and that happens. Or there's a bit of luck or whatever. And so that's probably, as a profession, a really good one to study. Like, oh yeah, just keep going, be obsessed, you know, go for it.
And it's interesting to see what is motivating that, though, isn't it? Like, what is making them obsess on whatever they're doing at that point, and to just keep on digesting all this stuff that they have to digest. There must be something engaging in whatever they're doing at that point, be it getting into a fast jet pilot, or getting up to test pilot status, or getting onto the astronaut program. There's something which is driving them, and that's really fascinating to know what those kinds of personalities are that get into that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a saying, you know, how do you eat an elephant? You know,
One bite at a time.
literally that, and you just keep going. I mean, I would never try and eat an elephant. They're pretty big. They're quite aggro. Yeah. But I guess the point of that is that actually, as with everything, you just got to keep going, haven't you?
Yeah. Keep.
But you've got to be motivated to eat the elephant.
Yeah, and so, you know, some of that's not actually down to you yourself. You know, like in my case, the company got launched as a direct consequence of my wife.
Okay.
What
was that? How did that happen?
Well, George is a very similar person to me in that, you know, she's super committed, really hard grafter, and just she likes to succeed. And with everything we do, we try and achieve the pinnacle of what we can, you know, realistically. So our wedding was a great project in that me and Georgia just wanted it to be a massive party.
Yeah.
Just a big old piss up. And we didn't want a princess wedding because she's just not that way inclined. It's not for her. Didn't want to waste the money on it. Thought it was pointless because, you know, public shows of affection aren't really our thing, and public wastes of money aren't our thing either necessarily. And so we just tried to have the best party possible for the smallest amount of money possible.
Okay.
So we set as a goal, set ourselves a budget, which was relatively low. I mean, I could have
£60,000.
yeah. We only did it for $500,000, and could you believe it? We couldn't get any doves that play violin. Outrageous. No, I mean we said it was $6,000, right? But for a wedding for 120 people, that's well, obviously a wedding for 2 people and guests.
It's a big old wedding.
So the point is, we did everything from like pig roast, hog roast, and all the rest of it, and it was a great project, and it really took a lot of our time, and we really enjoyed it, and we just had the best band going, all rock and metal music, right? Because we were just like, well, it's our wedding.
Yeah. You don't like it, well.
But everyone was dancing, everyone really loved it. So off the back of that, it's a real high, and then you have their massive anticlimax, and we're like, oh, well, what next? And George was like, well, why don't you do that thing you've always wanted to do? I was like, whoa, what's that? She goes, well, start the pedal company. You've got a design that you've already done. Why don't we do it? Yeah, all right, let's go. So it was like literally that night, because this is like, it was either the day after or 2 days after. I'm always a bit hazy in that bit. It was 2, and we registered the company name, got the website domain, all the rest of it, blah 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 blah, and just went for it.
And when was that?
So that was November 2014, and then we launched our first pedal April 2015.
And how long did it? Because I'm obviously, as someone who makes stuff, it's fascinating. Like the design of the thing is so characteristic, and as soon as anyone saw it, they were like, "Oh my gosh, I want one of those." I couldn't care less what it sounds like. Not to take anything away from your circuit, but do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That must have been a big thought in your mind. We've got to make this look unbelievable, and I'd love to do this, like have flames coming out of it, and then it turned into what it is.
Yeah.
And it looks wonderful, and you can kind of iterate it in lots of different directions. So you can change the powder coat, and you know the engraving on there and everything. How was that a concept from the beginning, or how did you kind of circle into the final design of it?
So one of the things to do when you're trying to go into business is to obviously research the market you're trying to get into. Now, the market that we're in is a really saturated market. It just is. Some of the saturation's great. Some of the saturation's a little bit like, okay, it's a rinse and repeat, and you know, Emperor's New Clothes, and I think some of that's dying away a little bit. But when I was doing my research, there was a lot of that, and I was like, oh, how are we going to stand out? Because it doesn't matter what it sounds like if no one sees it.
Yeah.
So it was actually a conversation I had with Dan Steinhardt of Gig Rig and that pedal show fame. So this is before that pedal show, about 6 months before that pedal show launched, and he said to me, "You've got to make it look cool." He said, "Don't do the same as everyone else." That was just because I built pedals for a long time before that as a hobby, and I built pedals for Dan, which is how we became friends.
Right. Okay.
Okay. So, and Dan lived in Swindon, so did I.
Right.
Well,
so
that
that's
was my
the connection.
centre of gravity. Actually, Dan years before, when I was married previously, and I built a pedal for him. He said, "Oh, you not married to Dan, by the way. That's weird." He said to me, "Oh, you should launch a pedal company." So, I mean, when was this? That would have been 2008, around about that time. He said you should launch a pedal company, and I was like, "Oh, it's not good time," because that marriage was piling in, and so I didn't do it then. But anyway, fast forward back to 2014, and we're going for it. It was that standout comment. It needs to look good. I was like, okay, cool. So did a load of research, looked on the market, saw that there was a lot of similar stuff. Also didn't like
Hammond enclosures.
Do you know what? And I understand why. Because it's the easiest route into it.
Absolutely, yeah.
Doing what I've done, it's not easy and it's not cheap.
No, I can imagine.
I guarantee I pay more for my enclosure than most, some of these Chinese pedals cost. All up.
Well, that Behringer line, it's like 30 quid a pedal. What? How's anyone making any money out of that?
Well, they have their own factory and they're a
Yeah,
hell of
their
a
own
lot
city.
of Chinese people.
Yeah.
That's on another scale. I mean, but
Sorry, back to
no.
distracted.
It's cool. So really, realistically, it was due to an engineering desire. So the look was, I want it to look cool. Okay. Then the knobs being recessed was, you look at people like Boss.
I know,
They've done it
it's
for
just
years.
Genius. Yeah.
It's a great
That's
idea.
amazing.
Cool. All right.
Side protection as well.
Yeah. To that's from an engineering perspective, and and being, because one of the side gigs of being in the military, doing my job is actually getting involved in a lot of weapons development. So kit that gets used under pressure. In warfare and in training and under stress. So I've seen good gear and I've seen bad gear from that perspective, and actually the thing to do is make sure things are simple, sure things are idiot proof, and make sure that if you're under pressure and you're struggling, you don't have the opportunity to physically interact badly with the item. So the side protection is there to stop the knobs being kicked off, because I've fixed so many pedals where someone's kicked the knobs off. It's only a thin spindle of the potentiometer, it's only a thin spindle of metal. I could easily do it, and that was the viewpoint. I thought, well, if I jump on this, what's going to happen? Well, I'm going to trash it, because at the time I was like 16 stone, and it's going to trash it. Okay, cool. I'll try and do something different. And so top mountain jacks, all the rest of it. So there was a real engineering thing behind the design, and also I want it to look cool. Because like I say, the electronics bit, I want it to obviously gonna sound good. That's what I want it to do. But that's where we ended up where we are.
So was there anything specific that led towards the holes cut out in the side?
If they were solid, it would have looked very physically. It would look bigger.
Right.
Okay, so the holes draw the eye down and actually take away from the volume overall. It's a weird trick, but actually the holes are modelled on something called super bainite armour, which is an armour that was developed for preventing RPGs penetrating armoured vehicles.
Because it absorbs the impact. Will it kind of go in like that rather than piercing? It will kind of buckle and...
Sort of, yeah. There's an element of
say
that.
No.
So
wrong.
An RPG works by having a piezo igniter at the front end, which gives it standoff to the shape charge. behind it. So a shaped charge looks like an ice cream cone, an empty ice cream cone, and then you pile up a load of plastic explosive behind it. Okay, and what happens is when that is functioned by the piezo igniter, okay, at the front end, so RPG about that long, half fit, and there's the standoff, that's empty space. At the front end is a trigger.
Yeah.
A wire goes through to the back, sets off a detonator, explodes the main fill, okay, and then what happens is that copper liner or another material, depending on who's designed it, essentially the shockwave turns it to a plasma jet of molten copper.
Wow.
And it inverts and turns into a very long and very thin dagger of molten plasma, and it just burrows through armor. Okay. So there are different ways of dealing with that. One of the ones is to essentially crush the cone and stop the thing forming the jet, divert the jet. Super bayonets along those sort of ideas. It's standoff armor, so you've got the vehicle and then there's stuff's put on the outside with a gap, because a shaped charge, distance is not its friend. Distance of air is not its friend,
because it will tend to,
it just dissipates. Under its own pressure and shockwave, it'll just splatter, and then effectively what you end up doing is you can just end up splattering an armored vehicle with molten copper. Right? There's more to it than that. I won't bore you with the maths, but it's very, very fast.
Yeah.
And so this super bayonet armor is a technology that's similar to sort of bar armor, and I just thought it was really cool.
Yeah, it looks.
That is literally it.
Yeah.
Oh, that looks cool. I think that's a really good thing.
Yeah. The thing is, you can see that it's one of your pedals, just purely by that. It's like the big trees. As soon as you see the leaves, it's like, I know what that is.
Yeah,
it's the same thing, which is brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, let's be honest. We eat with our eyes.
Oh yeah,
definitely.
So what draws you in is, oh, that looks cool. Okay, well, I wonder what that sounds like. And then you're hunter gathering. You're back to that. I'm going to search, Google. There we go, videos. That's for me. It's human nature.
It has to sound good.
Yeah.
It has to sound good, and then you're level with a lot of other people. When it looks better than them, you're over the line first. That's it.
Yeah.
And because, like you say, when you're looking for this stuff, most of the time, unless you're chasing it backwards through bands that you like, like, oh, he got that sound. How did he get that sound? Or read the interviews, blah blah blah. Most of the time, it's seeing what's comes up when you're searching for pedals, or see what somebody's using. You see something, like you say, and then you get to hear what it sounds like. So it has to sound good. But I think the look thing is absolutely crucial, and yours, you got it nailed.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's one of those things that unless when you launch, you can just happen to have an artist roster that's as ridiculous as the attendees of a studio. They all use my stuff. Cool. That's because, like you say, oh, who uses that? So and so. Oh, great. Cool. If it's good enough for him, I'll buy it.
Yeah.
That's a route to market. But if you don't have that initially, you've got to find a way to get into people's minds.
Yeah.
And this was one way of it. That, and then all the engineering stuff I wanted sorted. So yeah, there we go.
How long? When? Because you were still in the army when you launched, weren't you?
Yeah.
So how long? When did you leave the army?
Actually, April last year, so April 2018. So I stayed in the army for a while. There's lots of reasons for that.
Yeah.
A, I felt like I had the capacity to do it all, so I just carried on.
Yeah.
B, I was due my pension.
That's
okay. So I'd done a lot of years, and I thought, well, it's a lot of money financially, and so I thought I'd just stay in, and so I did it part time. Actually, Georgia quit her job very quickly. So my wife not only helped me start and just gave me that, we should do this. I was like, yeah, it's a great idea, let's go. She also bankrolled it.
Right.
Okay. I was like, yeah, let's do it. So
That's belief.
Yeah.
yeah,
Putting your money where your mouth is.
Also a little bit of pressure.
Yeah.
yeah, it's all right. But she bankrolled it, and yeah, we went for it. And then it was very early on. We were like 20 into 2015. It's like, yeah, we've got to quit. One of us has got to quit our job. And I'd been teaching Georgia how to solder, and she's better at soldering than I am. She's really good at it.
So does she still do lots of soldering?
I mean, we've got a young family, but our hours are crazy. I don't think people would want to hear it really.
So what's your average day then?
Well, I go into work a little bit later, so I go into work for 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
I typically finish at 8 o'clock in the evening. I go home, have dinner, and then I'll work till midnight.
Wow.
Yeah. It's 5 days a week, 6, 7?
5. I've been working 6 days a week, because what I've been doing, what had happened was I needed more time to develop stuff because I got loads more stuff I wanted to get done, and I felt like I had this mental pressure just building up inside my brain that I wasn't getting my ideas out.
Yeah.
So the list is sitting there and it's just static.
Yeah, that's what was happening. So I was like, how am I going to do it? Well, the only way to get around that is to do more hours. Okay, but they need to be good quality hours. So I've been doing a sort of a 2 till 6 on one of the weekend days. So like Saturday, where it's all about development and just focus specifically on that. Like,
so you strictly timetabled your kind of week to as what you're doing.
Yeah, to a degree. I mean, we've got, thankfully, loads of orders, and that's the big driver, because I always want dealers and customers to have access to our stuff. So we've got employees now who obviously build for us as well, and there's that whole sort of component to final product, just logistic chain of but that takes up a lot of my time. I mean, some of the stuff I do is bonkers. Like, I don't solder as much as I used to, but I still do it. I'm still doing some every single day. But my eye's always on what's coming next. What's coming 2-3 years out.
Yeah.
Where am I getting to? What am I trying to achieve? And so a lot of my time is built up in that. And this is what I was saying about finding these hours, because it was like, I've got all these ideas. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to do that, going to do that, going to do that. Right, cool. When am I going to do it? Yeah, no idea.
It's tricky. And I mean, you've kind of found that.
Yeah.
2 years ago, how many people were working in here?
Me and...
You and Tonti.
Yeah, that little man.
And now 6 sometimes?
There's 10 of us all together.
10?
Yeah.
And that's all you can do, really. Get more people involved to do the stuff that you don't absolutely have to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And then there's the firefighting side of it as well. We'll have supply issues, and I've got to then scour the world and find parts that are absolutely vital, And
you design a product with this part and then they obsolete it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm quite good in that regard, because I've been involved in stuff that's multi-billion-pound programs, and knowing that, for instance, I know that there was a missile that was developed, and they bought all of the worldwide stock of a certain component before it was obsolete. So that's sat on the shelf and it's held. Right. And I'm not talking small amounts here. And this is just a bit of future proofing, and so I've done that myself. I've gone, I'm going to buy all of that. Right. Now that really cripples your cash flow, but also takes headache away down the line, because then I'll have to redevelop something, but then it can be in mundane things like switches. Yeah. Switches are the bane of my life. Always trying to source them, trying to get the right quality ones, all the rest of it. The thing is, I literally won't put a product out if I haven't got the quality, and I can't live with it.
No.
So I'd rather just go, sorry. Sorry?
It'll only end up coming back anyway.
No, it just bites you in the backside. Yeah. So, so you deal with all those issues, and I say I don't like it, but I like the wins that come off the back of it.
Yeah.
Yes, success.
And it's like you say, it's something which would, from the outside, seem quite mundane, but like the grill cloth.
Oh god, yeah.
We won't get into it, but it's been about 3 years.
Yeah.
The supplier that we used to use was super sketchy. I mean, I don't have no idea who the guy was who weaved it, made it.
Yeah.
But we were buying through a third person, and then basically that whole chain just collapsed, and the guy was very ill who was weaving it. And then it's a characteristic of our amps, and I thought, well, can't be that difficult to find someone to do it.
So it's probably a proper worry bead. I mean, single source on anything is a nightmare unless you own the IPR of that stuff. Sorry, intellectual property rights. But unless you own that and can port it over to another manufacturer.
It's it's not just the IPR, it's all of the materials as well. You've got to know where to source all of the raw materials to make whatever you want.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, these are all headaches that you're like, oh. I mean, there are things that I've bought to make my life a lot easier, like a good quality soldering irons. I use the same one as you. I won't scrimp, and 350 quid for a Weller soldering iron.
It's worth it.
It's a lot of money, but guess what? All my soldering is a million times better.
Yeah.
I buy these German tools for the hand tools, and again, I'm paying a ridiculous amount for what should be a mundane item, but they don't scratch my pedals, and they work. So I'd rather spend it. Yeah. So all of that sort of stuff I see as like a personal challenge, to try and. It's not just about the pedal. Any point of it, I just don't scrimp. I just won't do it. Yeah. And I bought a wire stripping machine.
Have you?
A cutting and strip automatic.
Those are amazing.
We've been looking at buying one. So there was 2 tools that we knew we wanted. We bought the first one, which was an automatic bending and cutting machine for resistors. I think
you just bought that when I saw you.
Yeah, and it's got a handle on it. I could have bought the powered one, but actually, it's me. So I'll turn it off in a second. So it's got a handle on it. And you literally feed bandoliers. It's one of my favourite words. And I feel like I'm on a
so satisfying. You see all these
old school Vulcan machine, and I got piles of it. I mean, I run 10,000 resistors through this thing, and it's done in a few minutes.
Yeah,
I know the literal hours that used to take, and this thing's saved me so much time and money. And I was like, okay, so where's the next thing I can save time and money on? Because actually I'd had my mother-in-law was cutting wires for us, like bundles of them, like certain length and all the rest of it. And
see in so many of these kind of, I don't want to say boutique, but you know what I'm saying. Or lots of these pedal people have family involved in it, which is amazing.
Most small businesses, you
have to.
Well, I think there's an element of trust as well, because it's actually really hard to hire people externally because there's a lot of dross out there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of great people out there, but there's some people.
But you've got to find them. If you know a safe pair of hands, then you kind of grab them and use them.
Absolutely. Like my mother-in-law is just cut from the same cloth as my wife, and like just super keen, super committed. She's retired, and she's like, "Yeah, where can I help?" Well, actually, we need all the tabs taken off of these potentiometers. We need all these dust seals putting on the potentiometers. We need all the nuts and washers pulling off of them so that we can load them in. So she started to do all of that. Now, the job she hated the most was cutting the wires. And we worked out time-wise. It was like, it's taking hours to get these wires done. So we bought this machine. And I was looking at one for ages, and they're like $2,000. It's a lot of money. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of money. So I saw Hudson had bought one, so the guys who make the broadcast. I was like, I messaged him. I was like, look, where'd you get that from? And he goes, oh, it's this one. I was like, brilliant, thank you, that's really cool. So I just went on like Alibaba or whatever it was. I ordered the same one, and it was a fraction of the price. And I'm not joking. I did the maths. Within its first hour of use, it had saved me more money than it cost.
Wow.
I was just like, okay, that's worth it.
That is really cool.
Yeah. I just knew it was the right. So anyway, little wins, but that from a production perspective just made life a million times easier because I've got consistency. Everything's the same. Yeah. I'm wasting less wire, I like that. I like stuff like that. I get too excited. Really, it's boring as hell for most people. I
guess.
I got super excited when I found a person that could make me my humbucker springs. I literally spent one of the guys
ran in and told me.
I had to buy like 5,000 of the things, and the best thing was it came in like a cod fillet box.
Brilliant.
It was like this huge box of springs. I'd never been so excited in my life. But then now I just don't have to worry for a year or two.
So weirdly, one of the best things I did when I visited South Africa, I was there for work. They took me around a spring making factory.
Okay.
Right? I did lots of cool things while I was out there, but one of the weirdest, I just found it mesmerising. I was just watching this wire going, and I just stood there. I think I was hypnotised by this machine. Yeah. They were quite big springs. They weren't like the same ones at humbuckers. It's just wow.
Yeah, I love finding out about
so sad. But no, it's stuff like that because, like you say, the headache of sourcing parts, and some of it's down to like the quality you want it at. I mean, we've had problems. Customers have never seen them. It just doesn't have. We don't like the big problems. With part sourcing that you shouldn't see it.
Yeah.
Because and I never whinge about it publicly because it's just part of the job and no one wants to hear it.
But it's not. I mean, the part of the reason for this podcast was letting people see under the bonnet a little bit.
Yeah.
There's the people see you on websites and magazines and stuff, and this guy hobnobbing with the stars, but actually you are grinding away every day at stuff which may seem very mundane to people who are not involved in it, but you're taking pride in it. You're enjoying. You're getting enjoyment from it, and all of that stuff is what's making those photos on the the websites and stuff. It's all of that graft going into...
absolutely. I mean, you guys are probably the same thing. I've had to teach myself photography.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah, I mean,
it's
we'll
all right
see how this turns out.
But I'm not
I was looking at your website the other day and I thought, goodness me, his photos are good. I wonder who does those.
Yeah, me.
Well done.
The reason, right? So, the one negative about my pedals is they're such a nightmare to photo
because they're shiny.
Yeah, it's stupid. From that perspective, it is awful to photo. When you can nail the photo, they look great, but to get there, I mean, I've rolled through some cheaper cameras, more expensive cameras, and I came to the conclusion that actually I've now got a formula for taking the photos. I've got a far too expensive set of lenses and a far too expensive camera body, but guess what? It takes me 30 seconds to take one of those photos now. I've got a defined position where they go, and I've got a defined set of lighting and temperatures as well. It's like really important to set them. So and I use a specific diffused light, right? So nothing that's point sourced. And so I had to teach myself all that. Then I had to teach myself Photoshop. Right? So this is the thing. I think what people don't realise when you start a business actually. Yeah, okay. The electronic side of it is absolutely vital because that's the core part of what you're doing. It has to sound good. But the other jobs, I've gone from commanding loads of soldiers and doing all of that cool stuff to I'm doing absolutely everything. I'm the photographer, I do the marketing, I do the social media, I clean the loos, I dust the floor, I do all the and the list is endless, endless. And you try and share that out amongst the small team that we have, but it's amazing what skills you have to learn just to exist in the first place, and you've just got to suck it up. Really, and I think that's why a lot of businesses go under, and hopefully touchwood ours won't, but sometimes it just gets overwhelming. When you're sat doing your accounts at night, guess what? That's dull. No one likes that, but thankfully my wife does that. She's got a real eye for detail, which is why she married me.
the exception that makes the rule.
Yeah, absolutely.
I remember, because I've made a rod my own back with like the packaging. Obviously, my stuff is ridiculous. I remember wrapping orders up until 2-3 in the morning. Just sit there, and my mother-in-law was staying over one weekend when I was doing this, and she came down in the morning and I'd had 4 hours sleep, and the kids were up, and she was like, "Why are you making this so difficult for yourself?" I just want to wax seal on things. It's important to me.
It is super cool. I mean, it gives good Instagram. That was before Instagram, I'm sure, but it looks great. It does.
Oh, mate, they're incredible. You know it, and with your pickups, the experience of getting that package, that your handwriting, by the way, is amazing. If I did that, it looked like someone had spat on it, you know, and played with the ink. But it's an experience, you know. It looks like Albus Dumbledore's written it.
Yeah.
I quite like it, but we went down not a similar path. We went down a similar level of complexity to what we were doing when we first started. So the pedals used to be a little bit bigger, the V1s. And they came. I had to get a specific box, and when you start off, you can't necessarily afford to buy bespoke packaging. So we ended up with a off-the-shelf item was a little bit too big, and I was like, well, it's gonna look poo if it goes in that box, and I've got this space in it, and it's not good. So I got these boxes. I was like, well, do you know what? It's all about the experience. So what I'm gonna do is I want it so that people open it up, and they look, and it was like a pillow of coloured tissue paper that was related to the pedal, sealed with a Thorpy sticker, and then you unwrap that, and it was wrapped in this thin foam, and then underneath was the pedal. So you know, it's like Christmas. Okay, so that's what I was going for. Now, wrapping those things, when we worked out how long it was taking, that was a kicker in itself, in and of itself. The real kicker for us was actually, it turned out shops didn't really like it, because what ended up,
it's broken the seal, and then nobody wants to buy it.
No one wants to buy that one, because, and you know, and if the shop's only ordering 2 of each model, it kind of got a bit annoying for them. So we changed the design of the packaging, because that was the kicker. So we were like, okay, well, we can't do that. We really have to focus on what's right for the shops as well, you know, because they're the ones who buy them ultimately and then sell them. So we designed this new packaging, and that was great until we realised that you can't stack them more than 4 high, because the one underneath starts to collapse.
Right.
So then I had to redesign the packaging again. So I've gone through 3 iterations of it, but we're settled now where we ought to have been from the start. But you know, hindsight's wonderful. Nearly 4.5 years down the line, we're in a position where actually we can afford to buy that packaging in the quantities, because the minimum order quantities start to kick you in the nuts, and until you can afford to buy them, you can't do it.
So they're slanted. When you open them, they're slanted. Is that
when you open them, they're still there. They face you, so you do this. Essentially. And it's a little thing. And then they're in a clear polythene bag, and you've got the case candy on the top, and there it is. If I could get the box to go, I would.
I looked into something like that. The Christmas, like the birthday cards. I really want it when you open the box for it to say something.
Simpsons, the beginning of the Simpsons.
Right in the kisser.
Yeah.
So that'd be great. Yeah. So if you ever release a pickup that's like, you know, more aggressive and like heavy metal, pow, right in the kisser. But have a boxing glove that comes out.
That's a good one. I like that
with
one.
a wax seal on your face. You've been monted.
Or not even, just a brass seal, so that they will forever have an M on their middle of their forehead.
I can see there's faults in that, but it's a lot of positives.
Explain them to me. I can't see any.
Our legal team will get on it.
But stuff like that, I mean, look, I get it. It's not necessary. You could make... Yeah, Pete Cornish has had a very successful career making the most utilitarian pedals that ever did live. You know, Dymo labels and a standard grey box.
Yeah.
Great. Do you know what? They still sell. They still sound great. And that's his thing. Now, realistically, you couldn't get away with that in this day and age, I think.
Some people are trying to.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know whether they are or not. I've seen a few pedals like that.
My view is, I think that if somebody has, spent the time and effort to save up,
Absolutely,
to spend their money on something that we've created here, that you don't just throw them the pickups, or whatever it is we're selling. How many times have you bought pedals? It's a big one for this is where you'll buy a pedal, it'll cost you 300-400 quid, and it comes in just a white box with your name just written on it, nothing else, not even any instructions. Although saying I haven't done the instructions for them all yet, but that's beside the point. But it's I always get it, go, oh, it's really cool, but there's a bit of me that feels a bit cheated,
Yeah,
it's gratitude, isn't it?
Yeah,
I think so. I mean, it's that final percent, and I think one of the things to suggest, really, with regards to this, is that actually none of the stuff that any of us makes is necessary.
No.
It isn't, right? The necessities for life are food, water, shelter, all the rest of it, and Wi-Fi, apparently.
Yeah.
But so all these things are absolutely non-necessary.
Mm-hmm.
And so what you're trying to do is to get someone to want to buy them because they enjoy the experience, or some people might not care, they just want it to sound great, and that's the end of it. But other people, sometimes it takes, I had a customer, it took 2 years for him to save up the money to get the pedal that he wanted. For him, I'm really glad that the experience was as positive as it was, because guess what? It was a big deal when he got that pedal, because he'd been grafting for so long.
Yeah.
Guy didn't have 10 pence to rub together. It was just the email I received was kind of I'm not really that soppy, but I kind of like, oh bloody hell.
Yeah, but it's an amazing feeling to think that he worked purely for something that you and your family created.
And I'm just grateful we didn't let him down. It's really important. It's not life and death, and let's be honest, it wasn't necessary for him to buy it. I say from the survival perspective, but he wanted it. He worked for it, and I'm so glad we didn't let him down.
Yeah,
because it was nice. But so anyway, so the effort that goes into these things is important for those reasons.
Exactly.
It should be anyway. I feel.
And the point about these things are not necessary, that probably gives you quite a good kind of psychological place to come at the business from as well, because it's like, well, it isn't life or death, and yes, it's important, and I'm trying to support my family and all of those kind of things, but in the grand scheme of things, these are toys that we're making.
Well, put it this way, if there's an alien invasion tomorrow, or a zombie apocalypse, whatever you want to call it, do you think people are going to be focused on buying gear? They're probably not. They might be running, might be buying knives. So I'd probably flip my business. Make some
knives.
Big
Sharpen up those cases.
Make some guns, axes, all that sort of stuff.
Projectiles.
Yeah.
So, but I guess, but the point is, with regards to these pedals, it's really important for the experience to be bob on, because if it isn't, they won't come back. And I'm just grateful that people support us. I really am, because I love watching the videos of people playing my stuff. I love the fact that there's videos of an 11-year-old kid playing my pedals better than I can play. Absolutely rinsing through it. I find that one of the best experiences ever. And like you say, from a psychological perspective, yeah, absolutely. You should approach it from, these aren't necessary.
Yeah.
How am I going to make people want them? What is it about what I do that makes them keen?
Yeah, and that's not selling them something they don't want, but you've got to set out your table and say, well, this is what I do, this is what it could do for you.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
if you don't want to do it, that's absolutely fine. I don't want you to buy it if you don't absolutely need it, or need it in our new kind of way of saying need. But it's you can't be backward in coming forward in that kind of stuff. And
No, and you've got to have a total belief in what you're doing.
Yeah.
You know, I, if I didn't believe in my product, I just wouldn't bother.
Yeah.
What's the point? At that, you're just pissing into the wind at that point. It's just a pointless exercise, and you just get covered in piss. But sorry,
It's never nice.
which is, well, some people like it, but yeah, it's not for me.
That's not on this podcast.
Sorry. Anyway, come back to the Golden Shower podcast. But you know, with all of these things, it's just so important to like you say, find the hungry crowd, set your stall out, try and do your best by the customer, because they work hard. Some of them are crappy jobs.
Yeah.
You know, some people, you know, the money's easy to them, but regardless, they still want a good experience.
Yeah.
And they absolutely should get that.
Yeah, and they deserve it. You know, if they're putting down their money, however little or much money they have to put down, whether it's 90% of their disposable income or 1%,
Yeah.
they still deserve your respect and gratitude for.
Yeah, and it's a trust thing as well.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
You know.
It's their kind of escapism almost. You know, it's their time for them and stuff that they love to do. So you've just got to you just want them to win. You know, 100%, and that's where that all comes from.
Yeah, that's why a lot of people take up guitar. Not everyone actually wants to be in a band. Not everyone wants to gig and tour the world. Some people just want a total escapism. Because when you're trying to bend your fingers into some ridiculous jazz chord, or trying to, you know, sweep pick or whatever skill you're trying to learn, you're pretty much not doing anything else because you're focused on that.
It's almost like a meditation.
Yeah.
It's absolutely, you know, bit sore on the fingers, but you know, but then you know you get sore knees doing meditation, don't you? Squatting or or cross your legs.
Get some of those gardeners cushions.
What are you doing? Meditating. I'm not so sure myself.
I need my time.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, I suppose I went down into sort of motivational poster methodology there, didn't I?
Yeah.
I don't mean it that way. I just, yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean it's all valid, or you know, and you sometimes you have a tendency. I say we have a tendency to kind of segment different parts of our life, but they all bleed into one another.
Yeah, I think that's one of the hardest things I've found about being a business owner. I've got no separation from personal life from business life. It just doesn't happen.
I suppose it's even enhanced even more because it's both you and your wife.
Yeah.
Are so invested in it.
Yeah, I can't. I'm super grateful for it all. I'm really, really pleased that we're going where we're going and all the rest of it. I mean, and so I'm not moaning at all, really. I just, this is a situation that's happened where I have no separation. I don't know what my personal life is and my business life is, and I can't. I mean, it's got to the point where me and Georgia can't sit on the sofa, watch and enjoy a film without doing something else.
Yeah.
You know, like we're like tweeting or doing an Instagram post or whatever. Now, for some people, that's sad, and I get it. But we have tried, like, okay, we're going to ban our phones and everything tonight. Let's sit and watch this film. And we're like half an hour into it. We're like, yeah, we're bored.
Yeah.
Should we go and do something else? Yeah. What are you going to do? I'm going to build some choruses. Right, brilliant. What am I going to do? Yeah, I've got this circuit. I just want to turn into a circuit board. Yeah, all right. And that's what happens every single time. The only time we've managed to have time away is we went 7,000 miles away on an island. Like, just genuinely to have a holiday. And then the direct result of that was Eleanor. Came along 9 months later. So, you know, swings and roundabouts.
Yeah. But how do you, in all seriousness, how did you find it removed? Because the problem is at home, it's very easy to slip back into work world because obviously you've got worky stuff at home as well.
Yeah.
How did you find it then actually removing yourself for a week or 10 days or however long it was? Did you find your kind of psychological state change? Did you feel de-stressed? Or was it just weird not being with all of your work stuff?
So I mean, the reason that holiday had to happen is because I'd like burnt out. I was like properly burnt out. So we had to have a break, and I don't like beach holidays. I just don't like them. Don't like being hot that much. I'm very much into skiing and stuff like that. I like that holiday. Yeah, again, because I'm doing something all day.
Wearing yourself out.
I'm like it's like a Jack Russell really.
I think isn't that men?
Yeah, I guess.
Run me, feed me, sleep me.
So went to Mauritius. It was like a delayed honeymoon.
Yeah.
And it was an amazing place. 10 days, I had an incredible time. So I'd say I had a total break from it. That's not true because we have our own business. So we gave ourselves an hour every day in our room to answer emails and talk to dealers and stuff like that. And that was it. And that's how we dealt with it.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the time, on a boat in the middle of the sea, scuba diving, can't get internet under the water.
Yeah.
Well, actually, you probably can, but
Yeah.
but I can't. I'm not a submarine. So although I look like one. So stuff like that. You just physically remove from it, or you can't do anything.
And
about it.
did you feel the benefit from physically removing yourself from it? Like, did you enjoy it? Did you feel more relaxed for having for constraining work to the 1 hour?
Yeah.
Because you said you went there because you were burnt out, and so did you feel recharged after squashing work into 1 hour and then completely removing yourself?
Yeah, so I've had it in the past where I've gone on holiday where we haven't done that. And we just said no, don't touch the phone, don't do this, and I genuinely been quite anxious about it, and it's really bothered me because I feel like I'm letting people down. Probably says more about me than I ought to reveal publicly, but I didn't really enjoy the holiday as much as I should have done because I had that worry at the time. So what you do is by rationing it, and you don't go cold turkey from it. I know what I'm like. I know I'm stuck to my phone. I know I struggle with these things. So guess what? Just accept who you are. Have a bit of truth to yourself, and I set that hour. And Georgia did the same thing. And then the rest of the time I could relax, and I absolutely could relax. Not worry about it. Do the hour, go and have dinner. That was it. It was like a routine.
Yeah.
And it was well worth doing.
So you drew boundaries around the different parts of the day, and that worked.
Yeah, absolutely. Because otherwise, holidays aren't holidays, and otherwise. And
just work in a different place.
Yeah, and you know what? As much as it's great to be busy, and it is, rest is really important.
Yeah. Because your productivity just plummets, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Doesn't it? You.
Yeah, it's true.
We've all. I used to lift quite heavily, like I quite like weightlifting. I'm a bit overweight at the moment, and one of the things I've really struggled with at the moment is I really need that physical release. So I'm just trying to slowly get back into it because I've burst 2 discs in my back lifting, and there's nothing you can do when you've done that to speed that recovery up. Really, it just is.
How long's that been?
I did that in February last year. No, not true. Did it in December last year. I went to Nam with it.
Oh my god!
My first ever Nam, and I'd invested loads of money into these things. And guess what? Just have to go, don't you?
Yeah.
Dose up. Get on the plane. I mean.
Yeah, the plane must have been horrible, wasn't it?
Yeah, don't have any sympathy for me because I ended up having to. It was that bad. I had to upgrade.
Yeah. Okay.
I couldn't have gone. So on the way out there, I when I got to the desk, I said, have you got any spaces in business? Any chance you could do me a deal? And I got a really good deal from the airline.
That's good.
And because I couldn't, otherwise I would have been standing up for the whole flight. So I laid down and went to sleep for the whole flight. I actually got to the other end fairly refreshed, but I couldn't afford to do that on the way back, and I had no real reason to. So it was the plane back from the States, which was,
and it's California as well, so it's
all
the way
11
across.
hours. Yeah,
Nice.
It was horrendous. It took me about a week to recover just from that sitting there.
Yeah.
For that period, but you do these things, and this is where I'm. I realise I'm 37. I'm not 18 anymore. Body will fall apart.
Yeah.
Lack of honesty to myself on that.
And do you know what it was that made the discs rupture? Was it
Literally just lifting.
incorrect posture or
So I
weakness?
was trying to go for my PBs, right? So big lifts. So I was doing bench, squat and deadlift, and I got my PB in bench, and I was really happy with it. and I got like 165 kilos, which I was chuffed to bits with. And then I moved on to my deadlift, and that was 200 kilos. So, which is, loads of people do loads more than that, but for me that was my PB.
Yeah.
Yes, I wanted to hit twice my body weight.
That's the goal for everyone, isn't it?
Yeah, so
twice body weight.
So 200 kilos, I was like, yep, nailed it. And then then I wanted to do the same thing for my squat. What I should have done was stop, relax, go, because I just opened up my spine by lifting up that weight. And then I'm also tired, so I put 200 kilos on the squat rack, put it on my back, and just think. And what happened is, rather than my discs going outwards, they actually went into my spine. Whoa. So I woke up the next day and I couldn't feel my foot, couldn't feel my leg. I was like, oh, that's not good. And then the next day it got worse. It's creeping up. So effectively the swelling was cut off. The feelings. I've only just got the feeling back in my calf, and so I had a massive sciatica and had to go and see the doc and physio for ages. But I'm back on track. I can get back lifting now. And
are the discs, do they repair themselves?
No, they don't. They just stay where they are and they eat themselves away. So this was what I was explaining to me. I haven't done 7 years of medical training, but my understanding of it is like this. Because of what I'd done, I had an option of having an operation which could have shaved them, fused them, moved them back, because they're effectively impinging on the nerve. Or you can leave it as it is and your body will repair.
Do the thing.
Right.
And it essentially sees that bit of bone or cartilage or whatever it is that's impinging as a foreign body, and your white blood cells, I think it's your white blood cells, but it effectively eats away at it. And so I imagine that can't happen too many times before you've got no bone left, but that's what I was told. Whether it's true or not, no idea, but it's kind of makes sense to me.
And do you have to limit now? Is that end of PBs for squats?
Nah, I'd be alright. I just work up to. In all seriousness, I'm going to start light. I've got more than anything else. I've got a load of extra insulation I need to lose. Once I've done that, my core strength is the key. And then after I've done that, I've got a very, very good weightlifting belt. It's like leather.
Were you wearing a belt when you popped the
disc? Because I was an idiot.
Well, the thing is,
I can't wear it for deadlifting, and so I didn't pick it up and put it on for squatting. And it's hard, just the things you do when you're tired and under stress.
Well, and also when you haven't done it, when you've not had that issue before, you just kind of feel like you're bulletproof.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I've never ruptured a disc. Well, then I'm never going to.
Well, exactly. You do think you often think you're superhuman. I snapped my knee all clean through, so my ACL, my PCL, both of them torn in two.
How did you do that one? Was that lifting as well?
No, that was just being an idiot. I fell in a hole. That was in Afghanistan actually.
Okay.
It was on the base, so just no enemy contact or anything like that.
Gardening.
No. the marrows were absolutely massive. No, I'd walked from my accommodation to where I was working, and all was well. It's a straight line, and then going back, the camp was under expansion, but in the day they dug a ditch halfway through where I was walking, but there was no lights, and I've been saying to them, you need to put some lights up, and I got it back from them, there's no money, I was like, all right, great, cool. So I forgot my torch again. This is why it's stupid. Didn't expect the ditch to be there. It happened in the day whilst I was working, and I'm walking back at like midnight back to my accommodation. I fell in a hole, just a straight 4.5 foot drop. But with a hole in the hole, so in the ditch, and then there was a hole. So both legs landed, and then one of them went down, and I just on my right leg and snapped through.
So it kind of went sideways.
Yeah, and just sort of. I mean, to be honest with you, all I remember is I'm in a hole. What was that elastic band snapping? And because that's what because it's in you.
Yeah.
It's a weird feeling / noise. I can't really explain it, but it hurt.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But you sort of took some ibuprofen. I didn't know what I'd done. I just thought, I've probably sprained it. just carried on, stayed out there.
What's wrong with my leg?
Well, the weird thing is, you can actually walk without it. You know,
It's a stability.
yeah, because my thighs are quite big, so I never really had an issue. But until I got back, and I kept falling over, like randomly, I'd be walking along. Didn't why have I, you know, what the hell? I'm on the floor.
Yeah.
And then couldn't change direction very quickly. I was like, something's going on. And the final straw was I hit an old lady in the supermarket and knocked her into the freezer.
The last can of beans.
She deserved it. Yeah, I gave her a warning. And
I need the beans.
that is my fillet steak. Yeah. She was actually in, like, it was like a comedy sketch. It was ridiculous. She was bending over to get into the freezer, and I'm about to go into the freezer myself, and before I get there I just sort of fall over and knock her in. So she's like flopping away. I was like, oh,
Thrash
help
out the
you
beans.
out. What the hell? No, I was at that point I was like, this is ridiculous. Can't
You just
continue.
sort this out.
Yeah. So I ended
So
up
you
having
have surgeries?
Yeah, I've had it all rebuilt and everything. It's a lot better now. But, you know, this is part and parcel of why I decided to leave the military. Like, everything about me was just falling apart. You know.
Is it fairly tough physically then?
Yeah, it can be. I mean, there's this thing about the military whereby they seem to. They describe something as being man portable. You go, oh great. Well, great, you've stuck a handle on it, yeah? I mean, it weighs 2 tons, but it's man portable, is it? Oh, it's got a handle on it. Oh, yeah, no, it's got 2 handles on it, so you can share that load. Oh, brilliant. Oh, excellent. 250 kilos. Yes! So there's all that stuff. But, you know, it's a young man's game, and you know, ultimately, after a while, you just, you know, my dad's got chronic arthritis in both his knees because he did a full career, and, you know, and that's not rare at all. I mean, things are a lot better now. Like, all the equipment's a lot better. Your boots are more shock absorbing, but it's just attrition. Like, for instance, if you're into running, eventually your knees are gonna.
Well,
if you keep doing it,
that's a point of interest. I've tried to mitigate against that.
I mean, there's ways and means. I mean, you could do, like, was it running without any shock absorption, but you're running barefoot on your toes?
Yeah, I did barefoot running for a couple of years or something, but in the city it's really difficult to do that because the idea is that you build up a callus on the bottom of your foot.
Yeah.
But to build up an even callus over the sole of your foot, you kind of need to be running in dirt and sand and that kind of stuff. On asphalt and concrete, you just end up with hot spots, and that's what I ended up with. So then but through doing that, I transitioned into a 4-foot strike. So then your calf muscle is taking a lot of the strain, and you don't get the jarring in your knees.
Yeah. Okay.
And I'm still kind of basically a 4-foot striker, which means that I've had problems with my calf muscles building up.
Your tendons more than anything else.
No. It's just because they get such a hammering. If you don't stretch them out and kind of massage them out, then you get adhesions, and then that kind of squeezes on the nerve, and I'm having to work around that. But it's all, you know, navigating around different pitfalls. But my joints are all good, so hopefully.
Oh, fingers crossed, touch wood. I mean, the problem with you having the military is that, like, yeah, you know, most people in the military, and bear in mind, I wasn't an infanteer. I didn't have to man pack lots of stuff everywhere. You know, infanteers have it the worst in that regard, especially light infantry, so no vehicles, and they've got big packs. You know, some of these guys are carrying 50% of their body weight on the back. You know, you're not 4 foot running with that on,
and with boots on as well,
and with boots on, because the boots are there to keep your ankles stable, and or feet dry as best they can be. But you know, going through a career, and you have to do that. Even in what I was doing sporadically, you go on an infantry exercise or whatever, because you know you soldier first. It just grinds you down after a little while.
Yeah.
You know? So yeah, pedals is a lot easier physically.
Although loading into trade shows can be a pain in the what's it.
Yeah.
And flying non-business class.
Yeah. Lying down on business.
I put it this way, I didn't fly business class this year. It was all good. It was that was a necessary evil, because the option for me there was like pay the extra or whatever it was, and not
not go.
Or not
Yeah,
go.
and lose all
And
the
I'd
money.
already spent so much money going there, and as a small company, that's
Oh,
hard.
you have to
You-
follow it through.
Yeah, I was going come hell or high water. I mean, also our daughter had just been born in August, and she was born premature, so she was super tiny. Like,
how premature?
well, she was born just 5 weeks early, right?
5 weeks is fair
Yeah,
enough.
it's the same as my son.
That wasn't the issue. It was more to do with the fact she had my wife had preeclampsia undiagnosed, and so essentially towards the end of so it's got nothing to do with pedals, but towards the end of the pregnancy, the babe Eleanor was killing Georgia and vice versa. Georgia's kidneys were shutting down and all sorts of stuff, and so she was induced to save them both. And Eleanor, but it has an effect on the baby's size. So Eleanor was born, she was like 4 pounds, so it was absolutely tiny, and there was a lot of fallout. I won't bore you, but there was a lot of fallout from that.
Right.
And you took her with you to Nam
This year, not last year.
So she stayed with grandma or something.
Yeah, that's right. We took. It was great this year. Airbnb, Newport Beach. Had a holiday afterwards.
Nice.
That's nice. Yeah,
Win.
that's cool.
Yeah.
Building, well, again, the smearing of family and business sometimes is good.
Yeah. No, it's great, and I really like the NAMM show's actually really cool. Like the people that are there, 99.9% are awesome. Even people who you're natural competitors with, it's not seen that way on the whole. It's seen as a real collective, rather than, obviously they want to succeed in what they're doing and you want to succeed in what you're doing, and don't be under any illusion that that's the case, but actually you're all in the same industry and there's room for everyone, I think.
Well, and also it comes back to what you were saying, in that somebody who likes the look of your pedal is not necessarily going to like the look of their pedal, even if it's that superficial, or yours might sound more like they want it to sound in their head than theirs, and vice versa.
And this is a great thing about gear, isn't it?
Yeah.
Your amp might be EQ'd to take my pedals really well, but the next man's amp might not be, and it might be suited to another person's thing. I mean, our personal experiences of how we develop our gear comes from the what we like. I've done. I mean, the first pedal I did that went counter to my natural instincts was the Dane. Because I was designing it for someone else and their natural instincts. It was really weird.
It's kind of getting out of the comfort zone in a big way when you're doing that, because you're not following your. I mean, with all my designs, I just follow my nose. But there was the squirrel, the original secret squirrel, which was designed for someone's for Alan Moulder's 50th birthday. That was a very specific thing, and I had to kind of follow what he wanted, and it was a really novel kind of path of discovering how I was going to make this thing and what it was going to sound like. It was cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very familiar story, that the Dane's really interesting in that. Like I was saying to you earlier, it started off as it was going to be a combination of like stripped down Peacekeeper and a modified gunshot, because Pete had tried both those pedals and liked them. When it came down to it, it just didn't suit what he was doing and what he was about. He liked the pedals, but he, when you strip down the Peacekeeper so much, it's not the same thing anymore. And the same with the gunshot. When you modify these things, they kind of lose what they are. And so the development of the Dane just came about by, what do you want specifically? Just tell me, what are your favourite pedals currently? What sounds do you like to do? And Pete's a very dynamic player, very much in control of his volume control, very much rolling up and down and all the rest of it. So 2 new circuits later, there we go. That's what he wants. But then we're down to, I want to put the boost after the drive, and he wants to put it before the drive. Well, guess what? It's his signature pedal. He gets what he likes. Again, runs counter to what my natural instincts would be, but I'm really glad we've done it that way, because it suits him perfectly, and
Yeah.
he plays it and uses it.
Yeah, he loves it. I mean, he's always shouting about it on his Instagram,
Yeah,
which is it must be lovely for you that he likes it so much. He's so happy with it.
yeah, it genuinely is. And here's the thing, you know, cards on the table. It was the phrase I used to him. Like, if you don't like this, I don't want to make it.
Yeah.
It's literally that simple. If you don't like it, I don't want to make it. So we either do it and we do it right, or we don't do it.
And how did you get hooked? I mean, we're really waffling on here, but
Yeah.
how did you get hooked up with him in the first place?
I saw him. I'm just trying to think. I'm trying to work out the timeline. And was it? So obviously he's the demo guy, or known as the demo guy for Andertons now.
Yeah.
And he did a guitar parody, so part of the Andertons thing, which was, and him and Mick Taylor were doing demos of stuff, wearing crazy Hawaiian shirts. And I think they did a demo of the Warthog, and he messaged me and said he really liked it. I was like, oh well, I've got this, and I sent him a veteran.
Right, that's a good
would you like it? And he was like, yeah, that is amazing, thanks ever so much. And he kept using it in the videos. I was like, oh, thanks ever so much, really appreciate it. I'm so glad you like it. Blah blah blah. And we just got chatting, and I went down to Andertons to show them before now what I was doing with regards to the Team Medic and the Fat General. I wanted them to see them as prototypes. And then while I was down there, we got chatting with Pete, and he was like, oh, I really want this signature things. I've been doing it with someone else. It's not working out, and all the rest of it. I was like, well, I'll do it for you. He was like, well, you know. I said, no, let's go. We'll get it done. And so from that point on, it was just
Plugging
pause
away.
on everything else.
Yeah.
Got that done.
Yeah.
And it was literally no scrimp, I mean, we've gone for this chrome purple colour. It's nice, but we were gonna do a flat purple, but actually I said, well, we both like that one. Let's just do that. Cost be damned, whatever. You know. There we go. Sorry. Yeah, so there you go.
Cool.
That's how that started. Really, just a chance conversation, and it developed from there. Really, as all these things are. I think.
Yeah.
Well, you wouldn't be here but for a
chance.
weird coincidence.
Yeah, we met at first randomly in Peterborough in Guitar Shop, because I sort of rented my house out in Ealing.
Yeah.
And then rented up in Peterborough, just where my son was born. Purely because it would give me enough sort of financial freedom to start this up, and like I was gigging as well and doing that kind of stuff. Yeah, and then you were demoing the amps to, is it Vanquish guitars?
It was up there.
Up there. Just randomly, we're both in the shop at the same time.
That's weird.
Yeah.
It was weird. It was really weird.
Yeah. Then I moved back to Ealing when everything started sort of getting a bit more momentum, and I was in a shed out the back of a place in Richmond, and you were here, and sort of got chatting, and now I'm here.
Now you're here. Yeah.
You see, we have a similar thing with where we are now. We'd done the usual progression, kitchen table, dedicated bedroom, office, moved from dedicated bedroom office, bought a new house, converted garage into, it was an office building area. Then from there, we needed to go somewhere bigger, and Chris at Rift Amps weirdly lives in the same town as we moved to. We didn't move because Chris was there. We moved there randomly for personal reasons.
Did you know him before?
Only online,
Okay.
Only had a bit of a chinwag online. I said, "Do you live in Brackley?" Blah blah blah, and he was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Oh, cool." Anyway, got chatting, go and visit him, all the rest of it, and he's like, "Oh, there's a unit coming up where I'm at." I was like, "Great." I went and spoke to the landlady. Yeah, I love it. And so that's how it's random. We call it. It's on a farm. Call it Tone Farm.
There you go. Done.
Branding does itself.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you have to get yourselves into those situations,
A little bit of luck.
Yeah.
And I think crucially making the decision.
Yes.
The amount of people who just can't make a decision blows my mind.
Yeah.
Just make a decision.
Even if it's the wrong one, just make.
Yeah. You got, what do they say? An 80% solution on time is better than a 100% solution late.
Yeah, yeah. It's a good one.
That is good.
There
Have
you
to
go.
remember that.
That's a military one. That is. Yeah, genuinely. Yeah. Right. Just if you're gonna just make a decision.
Yeah.
Stay put, get shot.
Yeah.
Move left, move right. You might get shot either way.
But just move.
Move.
Yeah.
That's cool. I like that.
Cool.
I have it tattooed on my eyelids or something.
That is a bad decision. I'm telling
It's a
you now.
decision, though.
I like tattoos. I have many, but eyelids.
Yeah, that's a bit of a weird one.
Inside, can they do?
It's got to be someone's got to.
Oh, well, they tattoo their eyeball, and
What?
yeah, there's several people with tattooed eyeballs. Now, you've got to be very special to take that risk.
Yeah.
Seeing. Bah. For girls.
Because the thing is, that needle,
Yeah,
Yeah.
seriously.
you could just puncture it. Oh yeah, there's your eyeball gone.
Mm.
Oh no.
Oh, well, I've got two. I've got the other one.
They also do that thing where they dye the white of your eye. I've seen that.
Yeah, so that's what I mean. So it's tattooed in.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Not for me.
No. I quite enjoy seeing things.
Yeah. Sight, not overrated.
No. Oh man, so we've been waffling on for quite some time now.
1 hour 39.
Nice.
I hope I'm
That's
bored
all.
people.
That's a record.
Is it?
Yeah.
It is
Go big or go
massive.
home. That's it, really,
Absolutely.
isn't it?
Yeah. No, it's been really good. The large point of this is to get that. It's trying to hear the bits that you don't usually hear, like the little hurdles that everybody has to get over. It's been really
cool.
interesting. Thanks, man, for coming down.
No, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
It's been a joy. We'll do it again
Yeah.
and we can investigate lots of other things.
Put the world to rights.
Yeah,
Yeah,
damn.
absolutely.
Damn right.
Three grumpy middle-aged men. I'm not so grumpy, really.
Yeah.
No.
It's like a moan.
There we
It's
go.
all relative, isn't it?
I think so. Yeah, these are challenges that everyone has in their lives. It's just a little bit more sort of distilled when it's your own business and you have that fear
Yeah.
behind what you're
Motivation, some might call it.
doing. Absolutely, fear is a great motivator.
Oh god, yeah.
Sometimes not for good, but it's certainly a motivator.
When you're slaving at 4 a.m.
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
but usually that's because you've made a bad decision.
Yeah, but at least it was a decision.
A decision, but
Or made an
you
assumption.
can sit there grumping. The best thing is, you've got no one to blame but yourself in these situations
I know.
now. I mean, it used to be great and very cathartic. I can whinge at the higher ups,
Yeah,
Sound
yeah.
their Ivy Tower.
Yeah,
Now it's like, yeah, I did this
Here's
to
the
myself.
yeah, exactly. But it means you get over it quite quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. Rose tinted specs, come on.
Yeah, just poo smeared ones. Oh dear.
There we go.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. Cheers.
It'd be great to see you.
Yeah, wicked.
Awesome.
Stop.